G'day bird nerds, habitat gardeners. I'm Grant. I'm a horticulturist. I'm a bird nerd. This is Habitat Gardening, and today, feeling a little bit weary from watching too much Olympics overnight. Um, what we'll what we'll run through is eucalypt flowering calendar. And what's inspired it for me um, was I was really, yeah, I was really concerned when I was looking at the out at the plants that are available for the nectar feeding birds in my area, and not seeing a lot about. Um, so I thought, in the spirit of the Callistaman rundown that we did quite a few months ago now, I'll have a look at some eucalypts that are flowering in winter and spring, and then talk about some more uh, that you can use to spread over the whole year. Now, my limiting factor for my little list today is that they're all quite small. And the reason for that was looking around again at the clearing that is going on in my area. So many of the large eucalypts are being removed from the urban streetscapes here. So, and I'm in Wurundjeri country, the lands of the Wurundjeri people, Melbourne, Naarm. Again, many of my picks are um, for temperate and subtropical climes, many of them semi arid. I've put on my list plants that are quite adaptable, but because most of them are small, I'm also thinking that people can give them a go in containers and then, uh, well, rockeries. But I think so many people nowadays have terraced blocks where we're utilising retaining walls. So the traditional rockery you don't see quite so often, but you do see situations that mirror that kind of habitat for the plant. So most of these are worth a try in a anywhere from kind of Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Melbourne, and many of them even will be worth having a try in, Tasmania and also some of the more elevated parts of Eastern Australia. So, so without further ado, and let's see, who have we got on? Oh, thank you, Glenn. Facebook like, thank you very much. Uh, wow, it's all Facebook. You're coming out in droves. I'm going to need my glasses, I think, for this. Oh, some Facebook loves turned up. Hello, Naomi. How are you this morning? Oh, Naomi, what have you seen in your garden in the last little while? There's been some really interesting birds turning up in the Australian Bird ID Facebook group. I noticed. Um, all right, let's start with some eucalypts that flower in winter, since that's where we're at the moment. And one of them is very familiar, and people will see it all over the place. Now, I'm not popping pictures up for all of these; it'll take too long to run through. But I will be producing a little handout. I'm most of the way through that, so I'll probably have that available on Monday, and Monday I'll let you know where and when. Monday I'm speaking with Hugh Possingham on the Monday stream at 2:20 in the afternoon, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Crested shrugged it. Very good. Was that at home, Naomi? That's a really nice get. They're a fantastic looking bird, striking bird. Excellent. If you're new, if you haven't been to a Habitat Gardening stream or one of the replays before, great. Naomi confirming that it was in her garden, so that's great. Naomi's in the Sydney region, in the so that's a very nice one. Now, where was I? If you haven't been here before, I'm a horticulturist. I'm also a bird nerd. So I can, and in horticulture, my great interest was in parks and gardens, urban landscape usage, and I've been an Australian plant nut since I was a little kid. So that's my special range of interests. So we combine that with birds and we whack them all together and we try and get some tips and hints for really functional uses in the home garden situation and excellent plants to pick. And look, I'll have a crack at any kind of gardening question if you would like to throw one at me. Right, Eucalyptus Behriana, Behriana, cream flowering, quite small, quite adaptable, flowering in winter and then tailing into spring and summer. Cream flowers. I'm trying to give you a bit of a colour palette as well. Eucalyptus cassia or caesia. I never know which one is right, but that is the Silver Princess. Pink flowers, large pink flowers, and gold-tipped stamens. One of the iconic and most recognisable of the small mallee eucalypt styles, often multi-stemmed as well, which is a really nice feature of Eucalyptus cassia. I always called it cassia, so I'll stick with that. And winter and spring. Glenn's got a good bird tip here. Satin bowerboard wars going on in the backyard. Okay, so very territorial. One pair starts to build their bower and a rival come along and trashes it, pulling it apart, then robs all the blue plastic. Glenn, have you always just had one pair, or is your bowerbird territory a new bowerbird territory? Like, are these two new pairs coming in, or is it a new pair trying to displace a resident pair? That'd be interesting to know. Yeah, I love the bird talk on a plant show. That's always the best. Eucalyptus cosmophylla, cream flowering. Oh, hang on, that's the wrong one. No, it's not. Cosmophylla, cream flowering, flowers in autumn, winter, and spring. So a really useful addition if you can. Oh, good. Naomi's going bird watching. Just got a call going looking for yellow-throated scrub wren. Well, fantastic. I hope you're going with someone as good at finding them as Ricky Coughlin. Good luck with that. One of the best scrub wrens. Okay, next, Desmond densis. We're going back to birds. Glenn says there's been a family about the ones building the bower up as still young, not fully coloured up. I wonder if they're offspring. I wonder if they're offspring of your pair. Um, that would be interesting. Um, where did I get to? Desmondensis, Eucalyptus desmondensis, pale yellow flowers. Again, autumn, winter, and spring. Diplera, green and yellow flowers. Autumn and winter. Diversifolia, cream flowers, winter, spring, summer. Now, one of my favourites here, Eucalyptus dives or dives, cream flowers, and that's winter and spring. Eucalyptus eremophila, yellow or pink, but more often the ones I've seen have been more often yellow. And that's a winter spring flowering. Now, all of these, just to let you know, remember, these are all going to be quite small. They're all going to be less than 10 metres tall, and in most cases, in the 5 to 6 metres tall. Many of them much smaller, but of course, remember, if you're going to grow things in pots, they will be smaller, but most of these will adapt to pots. In fact, you can even try bonsai with many of these, but that's a whole different thing. One of my personal favourites, Eucalyptus erythrocoris. Now, it has yellow flowers, but one of the great things about it is when it's budding up, and it has big buds, has a red cap to the buds. So before the flowers, you get this striking red bud, and they're usually in bunches of 2, probably 3. So they're really a good-looking specimen plant. Winter and spring. One of the best, Eucalyptus erythrocoris. Let's go another winter one. Eucalyptus gillii, yellow flowers. Winter, spring, summer. So, oh, hello, Twitch. Nice to see someone from Twitch joining in. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a horticulturist. Makes me a plant nerd. And we are talking about some of the small eucalypts that are great for most of southeastern Australia, and indeed many of these are great for further up, subtropical, quite adaptable, good for containers, good for small gardens. And we're looking at the flowering periods, because where I live in Melbourne, it's quite a hungry time for nectar feeding plants that might be wanting to feed on eucalypts, on gum trees. So I thought, what's a good list? What can we talk about for winter time? Okay, so we've still got quite a few more to go. Another really great one is Eucalyptus cruziana, cruz with a K, Krus, winter and autumn flowering. Let's keep going down through the winter flowerings. Pachyophila, Eucalyptus pachyophila, winter and spring. Eucalyptus polybractea, another ripper, another one I really like, polybractea. Winter, but also summer and autumn. So it's one of those transition plants from when so many of the garden plants are flowering, spring and summer. Another one of my favourites, Eucalyptus presiana, or Presiana, Preissina. Winter and spring. Another winter and spring, Eucalyptus pyriformis, Another ripper. Oh, and also tell us what you're seeing in your garden. If you've seen something interesting, I'm seeing. Oh, something I did see yesterday. I meant to come online and talk about it. I saw a goshawk, Australian goshawk. It certainly looked bulky, and it was a bulky bird flying and being mobbed. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a sparrowhawk. I think it was an Australian brown goshawk being mobbed by wattlebirds, honey eaters, and chased off, dispatched. Haven't seen a raptor for a little while, so that was they're obviously nesting, I would say now, and feeding and looking for the pigeons. So that was nice. Where did we get to? Pyriformis. Oh, one of my favourites, Eucalyptus rhodantha. Now, Eucalyptus rhodantha is one of those striking, characteristic West Australian mallee type of eucalypt with big, grey, leathery, glaucous leaves and big, red flowers, gold stamens. Now, rhodantha is a great specimen plant because it can throw flowers at any time of the year. So it's worth, if you can get hold of some, you can pop them in different places, different aspects around the garden. Must have really good drainage, so it's a really good, really great container option, and may throw flowers at different times of the year in different parts of your garden, and you'll get a lot of joy just looking at them. Where are we for more winter? Rupicola, and again, I'll produce a little guide with some flowers and some photos where applicable, so you can get an idea of what they look like and a representation of their habit. Again, as I said, they're all quite small eucalypts. Did I say? Yeah, Rupicola, winter and autumn flowering. Eucalyptus sessilis, Sessilis. Really nice one because it flowers for most of the year. Not flowering really in autumn, but will flower winter, spring, summer. Bulk of its flowering late winter and spring. And Eucalyptus spathulata, subspecies grandiflora. There are a couple of varieties of Eucalyptus spathulata. It's the grandiflora is a dwarf and with a larger flower form and small, a nice small one. Winter, spring, summer. Okay, go back on my notebook. Now I'm going to highlight now autumn, because autumn is another hungry time of the year. Less so, it seems, around here, but I'll run through these quickly. Where are we for time? Eucalyptus alpina, white flowers. Eucalyptus anceps, plural, cream flowers. Now, alpina and anceps, both summer and autumn, will tail into the autumn for quite a long period. Cineofolia, CN. Latin, I know. Cineofolia. Cream flowers, summer and autumn. Eucalyptus conferruminata. Now, you probably may have seen this as a street tree. Sort of greeny yellow flowers, large, large fruits, decorative fruits. Um, Flowers spring, summer, and into autumn. There's actually a street tree a couple of miles away from me, which is flowering now, so into winter. So a long flowered plant, really good value. Cosmophylla, cream flower, spring, tail ends flowering in spring. Bulk of its flowering is winter, autumn, and winter. Um, Talked about Desmondensis before. Diptera, again, green yellow flowers, autumn and winter. Oh, one of the best gums, known as the fuchsia gum, Eucalyptus forestiana. Delightful small tree with pinky red buds, but then the flowers are yellow. Autumn flowering, but summer and autumn. Bulk of its flowering is late summer through to mid-autumn. I mentioned Cruziana already. Macrocarpa, a ripper, autumn. Autumn and summer. Coming back down through... Oh, Stricklandii. Let's say Stricklandii. Also, interesting that it throws... it's a spring, summer, autumn flower. So the tail end of the summer flowering season. I'm interested. I'm interested to know, Glenn. I want to talk to you a bit more about your bowerbirds. Just taking a short break from plants. Where do they just dominate your garden, or do you know, are they ranging quite wide with your neighbours as well? Like, have you got any sense of how big the bowerbird territories are? Not having bowerbirds around here, I don't know. Yeah, we'll leave that one out. Now, so many of the eucalypts on my list flower in summer. And I think I've mentioned most of these already. I know one or two I haven't. I'm going to just run through this list, just read them out. Okay, so Glenn tells us, so at least the either yard size. So I'm guessing in a suburb you can have a lot of bowerbirds. Summer flowering, Eucalyptus alpina, anceps, angulosa, annulata, bayeriana, campaspe. Campaspe's a ripper if you can find it. Cineofolia, that's the one I couldn't pronounce before. Conferrum unata, crucis. Crucis is another ripper if you can find it. Dilsiana, diversifolia, erythronema, fecunda. Eucalyptus fecunda is another really good one. Forestiana, which I just mentioned before. Gillii, Macrocarpa, Macranda, Murii. Murii is also another good one. Platypus is another ripper. Polybractea, Rhodantha, I mentioned Rhodantha before. Rugosa, Sepulchralis, Sepulchralis, I think is how, Sepulchralis is the right pronunciation. Cecilus, Spathulata subspecies grandiflora, we mentioned before. Stricklandii. Oh, there's a hybrid called Torwood, it was really popular in the 70s and 80s, and as a small street tree. You'll see it out there occasionally, but I think it's going out of fashion. and vernicosa for summer. So lots of eucalypts flowering in summer that are available in the trade. I ran out of time this morning. I was trying to check that all of them were available in the trade. I did find most of them are available as seed, and it got me thinking that perhaps I really should do the sort of bird emergency dozen or habitat gardening dozen, and I should grow these up into tube stock for people. Anyway, more on that. I probably will. Spring flowering, again, the bulk, a lot of these are spring flowering as well. Let's just run through those quickly. Angulosa, Annulata, Bayeriana, Cassia or Caesia, the silver princess, Calicogona, Campaspe, Conferruminata, Cosmophylla, Crucis, Desmondensis, Dielsiana, Diversifolia, Dives or Dives, Eremophila, Erythrochores, Erythronema, Gillii. You can see we're going over the same ones again and again. So long flowering periods or interrupted flowering periods. Old Fieldii. Now that does nearly all of its flowering in spring. Hard to find. Excellent if you can find it. Pachophylla, Platypus, Presiana, Arypa, Pyriformis, Rhodantha, Sepulchralis, Cecilus, Spathulata subspecies grandiflora, Stricklandii, Tetraptera, and Torwood. So, in terms of eucalypts, that's quite a small list, right? But I've tried very hard to keep them in the small tree, large shrub category. The good news is I can do a medium tree and a large tree list in the weeks to come. Glenn's given us another tip about the satin bowerbirds. Often see about five in the yard. So guessing a family that's been growing, yeah, that would be a fair assumption. There's a golf course that winds its way around the suburbs, so plenty of large gums, so plenty of habitat for the bird life in the area. Excellent. We don't have pets. Good. In most cases, well, certainly barky dogs don't encourage birds that like to hang out in the lower reaches of the vegetation profile. So plenty of habitat for the bird life in the area. Yeah, we don't have pets, so the wildlife appreciates our yard. One side of us has a dog. The bowerbirds visit their yard, but with the dog, they won't set up a bower there. No, they're probably gleaning food from the upper reaches of the denser plants, and probably using the fence too. I would suggest. Yeah, cool. All right. So, what's on the plan today for our habitat gardeners? Who's doing gardening? I'm working on this list and also preparing for the interview on Monday with Hugh Possingham, which I'm really looking forward to. And got to tell you too, the following Monday, I'm speaking with Biz Bell or Elizabeth Bell about conservation on islands. That's Biz is a specialist in island rehabilitation and removing invasive predators and plants from islands. So that should be a really, really interesting, fun discussion. And on the 23rd, which is a Friday, early in the morning be speaking with Jeff White about his recent work. He's now Dr. Jeff White on the Fjordland crested penguin, or the Tawaki. So sort of a follow-up on that, but be really interested to hear about Glenn's research. Oh, Jeff's research on that. Okay. Let's see if we've got any questions. Any questions about gardens or eucalypts? Let me pose a question to you. Do you have a favourite eucalypt in your garden or as a potted specimen? I think last week I talked about the 2 eucalypts that I was rapt to have good success with. The Eucalyptus macrocarpa and rhodantha, that I felt like I'd done a gold medal winning performance getting those to flower. I think the other eucalypt that I've been most happy with, and I haven't talked about them in this list, I'm going to put them in the next list because they're a little bit larger. Eucalyptus leucoxylon subspecies megalocarpa. I bought one which was labelled as Gulwa Gem, so it was a type, I guess, that was sourced. The seed was being sourced from southeastern South Australia, in the area of the Coorong, and it was such a great specimen tree. Had it like a pyramid shape as it was growing, so it was a really nice specimen tree on its own, but beautiful large bunches of pink, bright pink flowers, and was really popular. Quick growing, nice foliage, seemed to be quite resistant to any of the shot hole caterpillars and what are the other things, like leaf miners that do that little patterning on the eucalypt leaves, the holes. Here, Glenn's got a good one here. Out photographing. Was that in the gardens, Glenn? Hoping to get a shot of the swift parrot. Saw one yesterday after I gave a presentation to a garden club here. Walking back to the car, one flew over. Clear view of the red underwings. Tomorrow I'll be working in the garden, some paving work and weeding. Fantastic. I thought I heard a swift parrot last week, but I didn't see one. Hello, Betty. Nice to see Betty this morning. Snow gums are growing well in Goulburn, but one in particular is going right off. Just planted scribbly gum, all in a row. One in particular is zooming along. Do you know why one is doing better than the others? Is it sheltered? Does it have more mulch? Is it in it? Is there some cow pats or something nearby? Like, is there extra fertilizer? That's always interesting to try and work out. Snow gums are really, really good. Have you got are you growing them? Well, do you know, are they the dwarf variety? What's the snow gum? Passiflora, isn't it? I'm going to have to look that one up because I can't actually remember. So one, Alpinia, which is one of the ones I recommended. Alpina, beg your pardon. That's the Grampians gum, but some people will call that a snow gum. Just looking to see what other snow gums we've got. I was thinking Passiflora. I don't usually use the common names unless they're really, really... So Eucalyptus dives or dives is also quite um, a sort of alpiney gum as well. Bear with me, everyone, because I'm just looking through my extensive list. Looking at how many of the eucalypts I didn't mention. Like I didn't put in macrocarpa in my list. I'm almost up to the... Yeah, Porciflora, I was right, snow gum. Um, Now, I didn't put it in my list because it can grow up to 20 metres. But flowering in spring and summer, the little note in my horticultural book, beautiful and very adaptable. Yeah, certainly I would call them beautiful. The trunks can be outstanding. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Betty gives us some extra info. They're in a row separated by 20 metres. Have no idea why dwarf snow gums are getting there, but not zooming along. Have a nice purple gum. A purple gum. 8 years. When you say purple, is it the new foliage is quite purplish? Is that how you're describing it, as a purple gum? There are quite a few of the eucalypts. Purple flower. Okay. I think Lansdowniana has a purple flower from memory. Let me go back and have a look. Yes, Lansdowniana. Cream to purple pink flowers. I can't think of any others that have sort of a purpley flower. Plenty in the crimson, crimson deep red, but Lansdowniana again, a really nice one, a bit larger than any of the plants I was talking about today. Well, that's good. I'm glad we've got some comments coming in. I'm going to go out shortly and try and take some photos. I'm going to do, a bit of photography this week. Now, I've told you what's coming up. I'll just remind you again. Hugh Possingham, 2:30 on Monday. And that's all that's lined up definitely for next week. I've got a busy week of doing errands, and hopefully I'll finish I've got a new introduction video for habitat gardening. So instead of not looking at something interesting while we're waiting for the show to get going, I've been putting together a nice habitat gardening themed video. So that should be fun. Okay, open for last comments. Betty, because you're in Goulburn, which is an area that can get heavy frosts, have you noticed any frost damage? Have you had much frost this year? And the plants that you've been putting out, you've been planting in the last few years, so they're still quite small. Have you had any frost damage? I'd be interested to know that. And are you noticing any hollow nesting birds? Finding any of the hollows around your property? New or any listeners that aren't, or what viewers who aren't catching up every week. Betty's got on quite a large property out of Goulburn, which is a couple of hours west of Sydney, or about an hour out of Canberra, on a similar uh, kind of latitude and can get extremely cold winters there. Well, from an Australian perspective, certainly nowhere near as cold as the winters that you might get in uh, the north of North America and in northern Europe. Yeah. So we've had heaps of the gums I planted are fine with frost. Hollows are all up in the forest, which are all very old gums. Are you noticing the birds using them, uh, or or have you got possums and gliders in them? Are they being used? It's something I've been thinking about a fair bit lately. Reading a bit of research um, uh, about hollows and how infrequently the target species that you are hoping the hollows are servicing are actually the ones using them. So, especially with some of the invasive species in southeast Australia, the Indian miner, common miner particularly. Anyway, okay, no possums. Okay, cool. Okay, folks, I just heard a lorikeet calling me, asking me to uh, probably give them another treat. All right. I hope I can tell you on Monday that you can download this little calendar flowering guide. I'll let you know on Monday, and hope you enjoy your gardening if you're out there doing some today, tomorrow. Also, should be announcing on Monday how I'm going to treat First Seen and Heard and Dawn Chorus and roll them into a regular weekly show. Um, Taken some suggestions on board, and I think that's what we will try to do. Rather than do Dawn Chorus once a month, I think we'll do it regularly on a weekly basis, and I'm trying to work out a way that doesn't take too much time to track the changes for people. But anyway, enough of that. I'm always coming up with great ideas that I don't follow through on. So, folks, thank you. It's been very nice to spend Saturday morning with you again. Please do consider, whenever you're doing some gardening, and so many of us are doing some gardening, when you're doing your gardening, consider how you can do your gardening in a way that you can invite nature in rather than just looking after your own needs. And we like to talk about that every Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. in the Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, Hobart zone, and for half the year, Brisbane are in that too. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But we'll be moving soon into Australian Eastern Summertime. So, it's all very difficult, isn't it? Thanks, gardeners. Thanks, bird nerds. See you soon. Thanks, Betty and Naomi and Glenn for contributing. And that makes these shows much more useful if people do contribute and join in. See ya.